You are watching The Breakdown. We are the Three Stooges. Larry, Curly, you're Mo.
Hey, Mo.
And I'm Larry, coming off a fantastic quarterfinal round in London high school football, one in which saw some surprising teams get through, and then also put on display our prowess for predicting teams to get through or fall by the wayside. Brent, you had STA and Oakledge getting to the semifinals, but you didn't pick Central, you didn't pick CCH. Notice how I'm pointing the finger at you, right? Because you're the one who made the picks. Should we refrain from making picks, or do you think, hey, you had a feeling how the games might go, they just didn't happen your way?
Yeah, 2 for 4. STA obviously didn't quite play as well as I thought they were going to, or maybe Clark Road played better than I thought they were going to. STA in the end got it done. Oakridge in the blowout. CCH dominated Mother Teresa. I didn't give enough credit to the CCH club, but also I think the Spartans really just played their worst half of football all year long, and it happened to be in that game. And all the credit to CCH and Central. Their aerial attack was too much, and Lucas just made too many mistakes, and really they lost the game themselves as much as Central won it.
There are winners, there are losers, Merrick. Do we make too much of it? I know that we've been criticized for pointing out the flaws of teams and perhaps overblowing or making too much of teams that are supposedly great and then come back falling to earth. Do you think we make too much of this kind of thing?
We've talked to high school football coaches over the last week, and every single one of them would want us to criticize them. Why? Because it fires them up. They'll show that to their players. That will fire them up. And you know what? We're not here to cheerlead. We're going to call it like we see it. We might be wrong. Of course we're going to be wrong. In Brent's defense, I don't think anybody would have picked those 4 teams to make it in, even as late as the last couple of weeks. But the thing is, coaches don't care if we criticize them because it fires up their own team. They just show it to them. It puts a spark in them.
Well, we cover sports. Part of our job is to provide some analysis. Let's look at the World Series, for example. Who'd have thunk that the Phillies would lose to the Giants, and who would have picked the Yankees to fall to the Rangers? But here we are. It's the Rangers and the Giants battling it out for the World Series. You're going to have a winner. You're going to have a loser. You're not always right. But the good thing is we have London high school football, and no matter who is still around right now, it's a fantastic game any way you spread it. Brett Weir, an absolutely huge hit on Matt Davis in that Clark Road STA game. Matt Davis with some concussion-like symptoms, thankfully no spinal injuries. Brett Weir bringing the wood, as they'd say, with a devastating football hit/tackle. To this day, do you think that was an absolutely clean hit, or is there something about that you didn't think went so right?
I think it was a clean hit. I think it was just unfortunate that the force that it was delivered at that time. Davis caught the ball, and Weir, as he said in his quote, was, "My job is to take away the middle." He's a big, strong kid, 6'4", 230 pounds. Just happened to lay the helmet just in the side of the shoulder pad and chin, kind of like the way Brett Favre got hit this week in their game against the Patriots. It just kind of, they had the side of the helmet caught the shoulder, and then underneath the shoulder, and then came up and hit the chin. It's unfortunate, but I don't think too many people would say that was an illegal hit. Most coaches that I talked to said they thought it was a good blow. It just happened to be really, really hard.
Brett Weir is one of the biggest and strongest players on the field in London high school football. Remember when Eric Lindros entered the OHL? He was twice the size of most of his competition, so he'd go into the corner, crush his competitor, come out with the puck, and it looked like he was doing things illegally. He was just that much bigger and better than his competition. Do you think we have a case of that right here?
What we have, Brett Weir is in a class all of his own, because he's got the explosiveness of his speed. He can just take off, and the amount of speed he can generate in such a short distance, that's what propels that hit to such a catastrophic level. But these are the hits that the NFL are looking at. This is the hits that the NHL are looking at. High hits to the head. You should have no hits anywhere near the head. And it only happens, and we were talking about this earlier, it only happens with defensive backs. You never see a linebacker taking one of these fines or suspensions because they break down and tackle.
But kids are bigger these days. They're so much faster. And how does Brett Weir have an opportunity to make a quick judgment and say, I better get lower? Maybe he wanted to go lower, but by the time he had collided with Matt Davis, it was too late.
If I knew the answer to that, I'd be a smart and rich man, because nobody can figure out how you can take make this a safe kind of hit.
I think Davis, it was just unfortunate that he caught the ball, and when he turned around, he saw Weir coming, so he tried to get out of the way, but Weir was trying to deliver the hit. It was just kind of like that Ben Finelli Liamis thing. It was just a perfect storm
Wow.
of circumstances happened at the same time.
Hold on, though.
No, I think
Finelli was crushed by a guy who didn't have to hit him in that regard at that point, at that place. With Brett Weir, he was just doing his job. And again, he's 6'5".
Yeah.
So how low can he go in a split second? So I don't think there was any malicious intent on the part of Brett Weir. With Michael Liamis, I don't think that he meant to thwart Ben Finelli's hockey career, but he certainly went back there to go and get him. And I mean, we can agree to disagree. It's interesting that you bring that up. A new report by a London-based doctor, Paul Eklund, says that concussions are running rampant in junior hockey. Now, he doesn't necessarily specify which junior hockey teams he's talking about, but here it is. A study of concussions in junior hockey has found the occurrence of the brain injury is much higher than previously reported. The Ontario study of 2 unnamed teams during a last season found 17 players suffered a total of 21 concussions during 52 games observed by doctors. The incidence is 7 times higher than the highest rate reported in previous studies. What do you think that's telling us here? Obviously, we're talking about unnamed teams, but do you think that this is going to come down to the fact that guys are fighting and they're hitting their heads on the ice, and then you also have this reckless abandon of their players just don't care about one another?
Well, only 25% of those hits or concussions are attributed to fighting. So there's a much bigger issue at hand. And it has to do with technology. I know there's a lot of technology going into now on how to protect the head in those situations, being hit, falling onto the ice. But I mean, we were talking about this in the football. I mean, there's so much, everyone's faster, everyone's stronger, and the technology I don't think has been able to keep up with that.
You can't lose your bucket now in an OHL fight or a junior hockey fight CHL. Do you think that helps? Do you think the only way we completely cut down on the amount of concussions is to, 1, get rid of fighting, and then 2, banish or severely punish those who seem reckless out there?
Well, I do think the only way to get rid of those concussions will be to eliminate fighting. You can keep your helmet on all you want, but a helmet is going to come off in a fight. It's not, or when a guy gets, when they're wrestling and a guy goes down backwards, even with a helmet on and you hit your head on the ice, it's going to possibly lead to a concussion because, these guys, like you said, are bigger, faster, stronger. They're all in the weight room. They're all eating right. These kids are, they're massive teenagers, and I think it's going to be, I don't have any idea how you can get rid of it.
I hate that wrestling, that little spin wrestling move that happens at the end of fights. I don't know when that began, in the 80s, 90s? It never used to happen back in the day when it was just 2 guys slugging it out and they'd be standing at the end of it. I hate that thing. That is what the problem with concussions like that, guys hitting their heads on the ice like that.
You know what? Concussions will continue as long as sports continues. I think professional respect has dwindled, and until we get that back, we're going to be talking about reports like this, unfortunately, with much higher numbers all the time. For Larry, Curly, and Mo, you've been watching The Breakdown. We'll talk to you next time.